Tonight I am feeling a little under the weather, so I'm mostly going to be silent, and Jamie's going to be taking over. But we had some pretty interesting things going on tonight. And one of the biggest things is what's going on with Huawei and our government, being as transparent as possible. Steve, um, what do you have on that?
So my apologies with not being able to sit through that with a straight face. Anyway, Huawei is a Chinese manufacturer of networking equipment, computers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And for years, our federal government has maintained the position that, well, they're Chinese, so therefore they must have ties to the Chinese government, and any Huawei device is really a backdoor to the Red Kingdom. Well, in 2019, our United States National Defense Authorization Act basically told federal agencies and their contractors that you're not allowed to use networking gear or equipment from Huawei. So you've got to buy, you've got to buy it from someplace else. In fact, it wasn't just Huawei. It was also a set of companies, ZTE, Hytera, Hikvision, those who've gone to like the Anarchist Book Fair and seen my surveillance camera. Well, that's one of those things that the federal government says that you shouldn't be buying, and another company named Dahu. Well, recently the Register reported that one prominent federal government agency was given a brief exemption, a period by which they could purchase Huawei gear and therefore, put it into use. That prominent federal agency happens to be the Pentagon, which, if you talk about internal inconsistencies in, granted, the federal government is a huge bureaucracy, and I would expect there to be some inconsistencies, as you go from department to department or group to group. But when you've got what's essentially a national ban on a set of specific manufacturers, premised on the idea that their equipment provides backdoors for the Chinese government, it really seems like the Pentagon and the Department of Defense should be the last ones getting a waiver. Now, not that I believe any of this. I mean, well, the part I don't believe is that they're acting as a backdoor for the Chinese government. I would be, to be completely honest, I would not be any more afraid of Huawei gear than I would be of, say, Cisco or Juniper Networks. It's a large, they're large corporations, and, the United States, well, let's just say that the idea of implanting backdoors secretly is, would not be a novel concept to a number of our federal agencies.
Yeah,
what do you guys think?
So we're accusing Huawei of doing what AT&T has been doing for the United States government. There are members of the PLA on Huawei's board, and they've been granted special economic privileges by the Chinese government. But so have our tech companies. We paid them to build our internet.
Mm-hmm.
We know that there are rooms in every major ISP that holds government snooping hardware, and the ISPs know it's there because they put it there with the government.
Now it's they're in 2005. I forget the fellow's name, but a telco employee in San Francisco, kind of blew the whistle about a secret, this kind of, nondescript room that no one was allowed to get into, and his belief that it was being used to siphon off communications and communications traffic. And a couple of years later, we had Edward Snowden, and we found out that, well, yes, those rooms are in fact do exist, and they are being used to siphon off they are being used as traffic collection points.
Yeah, and even if the U.S. like if in a parallel universe where the U.S. government wasn't doing this, private companies are. Like everything is being surveilled for data mining purposes, if nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
Google.
Google. Facebook.
Speaking of Snowden,
Speaking of Snowden,
something's going on with him, right, Jamie?
Yeah, well, not so much with him, but so back in, I want to say 2017 or something like that, Trump decided that he announced that he thought Snowden, if I recall correctly, should be assassinated.
Yeah, he specifically tweeted about Edward Snowden 35 times, especially calling Obama weak over the treatment of Snowden. So
And the lack of putting him in jail. Anyway, so someone asked him about that, and he said again, there are good people on both sides, and that he would consider what he should do. Maybe he should pardon him. Maybe he shouldn't. I'm sure this comes as quite a surprise to the Justice Department, but he does that often. So I don't know what to think. How do you go from he should be killed?
Wait, are you saying our president indecisive?
Senior moment, perhaps?
I don't think it's that. I think it's a lot more intentional. I think everything Trump says is bullshit, and he says so much so quickly, so often that he just throws everything against the wall and sees what sticks.
The dude's got no filter, man.
Yeah, I don't know at what point it stops being intentional for him. Like, it's a masterclass in shit posting. Like, he is the greatest fucking troll probably ever. And like all trolls who are beloved by a community, he has established himself as an authority that he has no right to and no idea how to use. But
he's got a great future on 4chan once this is all over.
Like, we fucking joke, but that is literally the grift. People enter conservative politics instead of inheriting their dad's businesses, and after like a short, disastrous term, they become internet grievance merchants.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fucking pipeline straight through the Fox News newsroom.
Speaking of which,
God,
what's up with all the news not being allowed at the Republican convention? Like,
they're fucking
closed
scum
door and everything. Like, what? What happened there?
Like, they don't want accountability. It's not for the public.
Mm-hmm. I mean, one very reasonable, for some definition of reasonable, reason for disallowing reporters would be, the simple fact that you suspect that there might be something going on that maybe you don't want to be reported. Even if it is criticism of the president, because I mean, I think that during the last couple of months, our president has basically managed to bring back the pandemic of 1918, the depression of the 1930s, and civil rights unrest of the 1960s. And I think that there's a possibility of that weighing on some of the downstream races. And maybe at the convention, folks are expecting a little bit of pushback, and they just don't want the media there to catch wind of it.
And all of this in under a year.
All of this in under a year.
But I mean, the media is going to be pushing back because they'll be watching the live stream. They'll be commenting on it. They'll be interviewing various folks. I mean, is there anyone going to be physically at the convention? I thought it was all a virtual convention now.
Oh wait, what are the odds that the folks running this thing make all the attendees sign non-disclosure agreements?
1000%.
You know,
Non-disclosure agreements. I think the only people who are going to be allowed to even like live stream are going to be specifically chosen, like asshats. I think they're trying to lock down how it's presented to the most loyal. Like now that they've kind of circled the wagons around the QAnon death cult, they don't want they don't want public accountability because they know what they look like. They know what they've become.
wasn't it Bobby Kennedy who was really going after the secret societies and stuff like that? And that's essentially what got him killed. And now they're turning the Republicans into yet another secret society.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, Rome killed Jesus and then set up the Catholic Church. Like, we become what we feast on, I guess. It's
Not sure I quite make the connection to Rome starting the Catholic Church.
Well, I mean, wasn't there something like a fiddler who played, or some guy
On
played
the roof,
while Rome burned, or something like that?
And Nero, yeah, that was Nero. He was emperor, yeah.
Rome just loves burning. It's like it's the most dramatic. It's just Rome is very Italian, very dramatic, prone to burning itself on fire. You did this to me!
Or being sacked by Goths or Gauls or whomever.
I mean, wasn't that the great tragedy of Rome is they killed the emperor and then it fell apart?
No.
Which emperor? There have been a lot of emperors. I think there were like 4 emperors in one particular year. That's a long
Rome is
It was on the
Roman Empire.
It was on the decline for many years, from what I understood. But
Well, the pizza used to be better, but it's still a fine place to visit. It's not as pretty as Florence.
In Rome.
and that being said, gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me this evening. It's been truly a pleasure, and I hope you all have a great night. All you out there, even though I'm sorry I'm sick a little bit, but
We hope you feel better, Joe.
it's just burning the candle at both ends, which is what I do, and I'll heal and then do it again. It's just how I am. But I appreciate that. And all you at home, like, share, and subscribe. Definitely share. Definitely get your friends to get the word out. I mean, we're trying to do the good thing and bring openness back to government. So
one more thing.
yes.
So last week, Malt and I had a technical difficulty, my fault, and we didn't live stream the way we planned to. So we're going to do it again this Thursday, probably at 11 a.m. We'll put it up. We'll update things, and we'll do our live stream about the Earned Act. So keep your eye out, folks.
All right. Perfect. Thank you so much for that update. Have a great
All
day,
caps.
guys.